Contractors, here's how to stop getting compared, shopped, and undercut on every single one of your estimates and jobs. And the reason why I even have some credibility to say this is I used to knock doors for a painting company, and being young, I didn't have much of an advantage, by being good. And so therefore I had to actually learn how to get good at sales. And one thing I learned to do really, really well is how to stand out from every other person they've ever talked to, and how to make what my quote the go-to quote, the easy no-brainer one to pick, even though oftentimes it was actually more expensive. And so I'm going to break this down very simple so you can apply it to something you can literally start doing today and you'll close more jobs. So very simple. What happens is when you go in and you give an estimate or a quote, right, to someone that's already got a couple of quotes before, instantly what they're thinking is, okay, let me compare the price. Why? Because fundamentally, when people compare two things, they think they are the same, right? So if there is, for example, two water bottles and they're both water bottles, people will compare the water bottles. Why? Because they think they're both water bottles. Here's the catch though, is if this is a water bottle and this is a coffee cup, you can't compare the two because they serve different purposes. And so therefore, if people are trying to compare without knowing the differences, they'll do an unfair evaluation. And so what you have to do is you have to differentiate yourself from the rest of the people that they've got a quote from before, so they actually see you as somebody on an entirely different level. Because when you're in a category of one, they can't compare you. Right? You can't be compared when there's nothing to compare you to. People can only say, oh, you're expensive if they're comparing you to something else. And so if you want to stop getting compared, undercut, and shopped, you have to actually put yourself in a different category. So how do you do that? Well, the first thing is first, instead of going in there and just going and giving them numbers and a quote, build a relationship. Because the second you build a relationship, you stand out from every other contractor who goes in there, gives them a quote, breaks down the numbers, and walks out. Okay, so now you immediately stand out from the rest of the crowd because you actually cared enough to chat with them, to get to understand them, to learn about them, to learn about why they want to do the project, why is it important to them, what's the emotional driving factors, and those things. That's the first thing, because that'll instantly set you apart. The second thing is literally explaining to them why what you do is actually different than everyone else. For example, let's say you go in and you go give a quote for 40 grand, and they go, oh, everyone else has got, gave me a quote for 20 grand. It's like, hey, you know what? If they're giving you a quote for 20 grand, doing the exact same work that I'm doing, go with them, because that's a way better deal. But do you have some quotes we could look over and break down just to see if I could, shed some light on it, and heck, maybe if it's the best, I'll even just let you know. Right? And then what you do is once you look at the quotes, you'll typically find out they're using way cheaper materials, right? Or whatever the case may be. And you can point it out to them, like, oh, yeah, I know why it's 20K. We can actually do it for 20K as well if you want us to use those same materials. As a matter of fact, we could do it for 18K using those same materials. Here's the problem with them, though, is after about a year, they start to deteriorate and they don't look as good anymore, right? And you actually have to get fixed within 2 years. That's going to cost you an extra 10 grand. And so you'll actually be spending more than if you just went with the more expensive one off the bat. And so we could actually do that one for you as well, right? And we'll do it for 18 grand. It'll be even cheaper. Right? But once again, it's just like, it's just not your best value. It's not the best option. And so I guess what's kind of more important for you, right? Just getting the cheapest one and just getting it done, or actually looking the way you want, right? Are you willing to spend less but not have it look the way you want? Or are you willing to spend a little bit more to have it look exactly how you want, right? To get everything done proper the way that you want it to be so you can enjoy it for the rest of your life. And when you frame it that way, it's a no-brainer. It's like, oh, I'll pay more. And people will almost always, I noticed this when I sold myself for painting, almost say, oh, I'd rather pay more. I'd rather pay more to make sure it was done perfectly. I'd rather pay more to make sure that it's done exactly how I want it and make sure it's going to stay good. And guess what you've done now? You've now closed the job at a higher bid than anyone else. Why? Because you differentiated yourself. You made yourself actually look different. That's the coolest part about this, is you can stop getting undercut, stop getting shopped, right? And stop going into bidding wars for cheaper, because you just differentiate yourself. That's all you have to do, is just come across as, hey, I'm not just a contractor, right? Well, the second you can put yourself in a category of one, people they can't compare you. It's why when guys come to us and say, oh, so how are you different than a marketing company? I go, because we're not a marketing company. We're a partner, right? We don't just get some random data and get you some random leads and send them your way and hope that you close, right? We build our entire system in-house, in your name, in your accounts, in your systems, your logins, everything. It's yours. You own it forever, for life. We'll run it for you, so that way it saves you a bunch of time and effort and hassle, okay? But it's all yours. And so we're not just a company that you hire and, like outsource stuff to. We actually come in and build it out for you internally. So we're a partner because we partner up together. We go back and forth. You have my personal number. You can call me whenever you want, right, if you need help. And as you can tell, a lot of guys love that model. And that's why a lot of guys come to us, is because what we do is totally different than everyone else. And so they can't compare. They can't say, oh, well, what about this? Yeah, well, that's because we're different. We don't do that. Well, why is your cost per lead higher? Because we don't sell shared leads. We generate you your own exclusive leads that know you by name, okay, that are coming to you because they want a job request, okay? They have valid contact information. They've inquired directly to you. They've come to you specifically, not just found on the internet, right? They're within your service area. They are the homeowner, and they are inquiring about a service that you offer. So yeah, it's a little bit more, but guess what? The closing rate's almost 100% higher than, I'd say the closing rate's about 150% higher than cold leads, right, from shared platforms. And so you close, what is that? Double, right, what you normally would. So if you close at 40%, you now close at 80. How much more money would that make you? A lot more. Is that worth the extra lead cost? Yeah. Okay, cool. You see? It's a totally different story. When you take yourself out of the bucket of everyone else, you take yourself out of that pool, and you actually come across as different. And there's many ways, right? I've shared a couple, but you can also do that by the way you talk, right? The way you show up, the way you even give estimates. Just do things differently. Make people go, wow, this is different. This feels different, right? Have automations in place to remind the person you're coming, oh, wow, that's new, that's unique, right? Maybe instead of the normal way that people run through the quotes, do it differently. Be different, just stand out. Do things differently than everyone else, and therefore they don't put you in the same category. The reason why you're getting compared and undercut is because they see you as the same. And unless you give them reason to believe you're different, they'll keep doing that. And so you have to make it very clear, hey, we're not those guys. We don't do it that way, right? Oh, I got you. Okay, 20K. Yeah, we can do it that way. Right, if we get our cheaper crew in and we use the cheaper materials that don't last, we could do it that way as well. But I guess to be clear, the reason why it's more expensive is we use the materials that actually last. Right, and our materials are actually made here in Canada or in America, right? Not outsourced from China and just brought in for very cheap. So they're a bit more expensive, but one, they support local, and two, they actually last longer. Three, they actually have a quality guarantee with them, right? And the number four with our thing is we actually have a 3-year warranty that nothing, if anything gets damaged, we'll replace it for free. Those other guys don't. And so I guess that's why we might be a bit more expensive. So I guess what's kind of more important for you? Is it just getting it done for the cheapest possible, or is it actually having the project done exactly the way that you wanted it to be? Because you know the saying, right? Cheap is bad, and good is expensive, right? Or even the saying that cheap is expensive, right? You know that saying? It's expensive because it's cheap, and therefore it's bad. You have to get it done again, so you have to pay twice, right? Or in one of my favorites is you can have things done good, fast, or cheap, and you can only pick two of them. So it can be cheap and it can be good, but it ain't going to be fast. It's going to take me 7 years. You want it done now, don't you? Okay, well, it can be good and it can be fast, but then it won't be cheap. And so you can only pick two of the three. Which two do you want? People usually go, I want it good and fast. Okay, so it's not going to be cheap. Anyways, we digress. We're getting a little bit overboard here. I hope that this helped, because I know a lot of contractors struggle with this. And I think if more guys understood this concept of how to differentiate yourself, and I mean, there's so much more that goes into this, right? That's why with the guys we partner with, we do all this stuff for them, right? When it comes to the branding, even the social media, the messages, right? Even the reminders, even the way they quote, the way they talk to the prospects, the way they sell, all that kind of stuff we take care for them. There's a ton more stuff that goes into this, but just know that the reason why you're getting undercut and shopped is because you're fundamentally viewed the same as everyone else. And when you're viewed the same, they can compare you, but they can't compare two people that are not the same, okay? So, simple as that. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, you can comment them down below. And if you want to potentially work with me in my company, there's a little link below. You can click it and see if it's something that would be interesting for you. I'll see you in the next one.